Long time no see.
We're alive! Oh man, it's been a while. It's been a while. How are you, bud?
Well, actually, not good.
Oh, oh, same here.
It's
Same
not
here,
good.
man. Same here, man.
Not
Same
good.
here. Like what? What? What do you mean not good? Not good? Like what? Not good?
Well, health wise, not good. I've been having
Seizures?
not God no, not yet. hopefully none of those.
Well, I'm not
But
good too. But go ahead. You first. You first. Go.
I've been having headaches and like dizziness.
Oh crap.
One incident of vertigo last Saturday
Oh
or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
vertigo, yeah. So
yeah, yeah. It's back.
it's been 3 weeks, man. So it's really not normal, and my head feels weird. Right
What?
right after my mom and my sister left, that's when it started. It was like
Oh
I don't
shoot.
know because maybe because of all the physical fatigue that I went through when they were here because they were
Yeah,
here for
yeah,
about a month and 10 days, about 40 days, right? And since
yeah,
they came, no rest for me. I usually sleep late. I wake up in the morning, go to work, then I get back home. Then I have to, like show them around and whatnot. We would
yeah,
go
yeah,
to like malls and shit. And I don't do that, right? And I didn't go basketball because I hit my head. So I was like, all right, staying away from basketball for a while. So for the whole duration that they were here, I was just like busy showing them around and I didn't get much sleep. So when they left, a week after that, it started to like things are starting to come out, and I was feeling dizzy like most of the time. It's not like the vertigo that happened last Saturday. That was worse. That was the kind of vertigo I had back in 2002, where
like you
like
you throw up. Like you would
yeah,
throw up and stuff, right?
well, yeah, the spinning. But the dissonance I'm talking about, like from time to time, I'd be like, oh, like holy shit, like this is not normal. And it's been 3 weeks, so I was so paranoid, and I'm like, oh my god. So I went
Did you get checked
to
up?
I went to the doctor, my like my main doctor, and he was just like, oh, you're fine, and it could be with your eyes or whatever, and he just gave me headache meds, painkillers, and for dizziness for 10 days. But still, it's been because I thought in the beginning it was migraine, because usually my migraines are longer now. Every time I have a migraine episode, it goes on like about a week and a half or 2 weeks. But when it went past 2 weeks, I got really worried. And after that, I went to an ENT because I was thinking maybe it's with my ear or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then I got checked there, and she said, "Well, it was not, like nothing. You don't have Meniere's disease or whatever.
yeah.
Like you have nothing. If you didn't have that bump in the head, like what you said, she told me like you said you had that, head accident back in November 30th, or was it? No, yeah, 31st. Then I wouldn't worry about it. But because you had that, you have to have your head checked. So I went back again last Friday to the hospital, the bigger one, and I got CAT scan. It's clear. So
So
the
you have no
doctor tells
brain?
me, yeah, well, the brain's clear. I still have a brain, but it's clear. There's no spots or whatever. There's no bleeding going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the doctor was kind of like, well, can you like, can you clench your fists? And I was like, yeah, I have no problem with, like both sides. I mean, my body's fine. Like I don't have like, I don't slur or whatever. And, I'm okay. I don't have double vision. And she was like, all
Yeah.
right, then I'll just have to schedule you for an MRI. So last night I had an MRI, but then
Okay.
the neurologist wouldn't be like around until probably like maybe today or tomorrow. So they'd
Okay.
have to show the images to a neurologist. Then they would tell me about it on Friday. So I still have like 4 days to stress about it. I already had the MRI scan, but I don't know the results. I don't know what's in
Yeah,
there or
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Because it has to be interpreted by the specialist, right?
Exactly. So imagine that. Like I've been worried for the last 3 weeks, and I still have 4 days to stress about it because, well, I don't really know because But now today's fairly better compared to the past weeks. Like it wasn't. there wasn't
But
much
so
dizziness going
far,
on.
with all the previous tests and stuff, that all the previous checkups, it's all been good, right? So, I mean, all roads lead to it being negative or okay, right?
Well, hopefully, I really hope so. We have people joining like judge or justice. All right,
The man of justice.
the man of justice, Mama Arlene and Alan. Hey, what's up? Happy New Year.
Shout out to you guys. Yeah, it's been a while. We haven't done the show. We both aged overnight. I don't know what happened, but anyways,
What's the story with you? Why is it not good? Is it like health
well,
reasons or what?
yeah, I just like I woke up. I don't know, maybe it was yesterday, and I'm just like I have an itchy throat, and nothing major like yours, but just part of aging. It's like I'm coughing and stuff. But it's just an itchy throat. But yeah, when you get old, everything annoys you. Anything that gets in the way of productivity. It's like anything that hinders you from just being normal when you wake up. Everything is magnified when you become an adult. And as you get
It
older,
is
it's like, right? It's like an itchy throat is like, ah,
true.
crap. Like,
True.
I have to run errands and I have an itchy throat. Or, I have to, like, it's stuff that you have to do and it just hinders you. Like when you're young, it's like you can have an itchy throat and you can have like a headache and you can have all this shit going on all together and all at once and you can still go out and drink with your friends, right? It's
True.
like it's like you don't have that fear. You don't have that worry that this is gonna last. You always feel like you're indestructible when you're younger, because if you can get over a hangover, you can get over anything. But like at this age, at this stage in our lives, if you feel anything that's like anything related to poor health, you're like, yeah, you get paranoid. Like you get paranoid. For me, it's
It
like I
gets
don't like
worse
this.
when you go on the web and start searching about things that you feel
Oh man,
and the
don't even.
symptoms that
Oh dude,
like there's
yeah,
like tons and like so like the list is long for all the
yeah,
possibilities that you can have and you get worried,
yeah,
maybe I have cancer or
dude.
maybe I have like a tumor or whatever,
Dude,
like it really gets worse, man. Every
I,
time I before going to bed I read all these things. I'm like,
and
what
you're
kind of
like,
disease do I have?
dude,
Oh my god, I'm gonna die.
remember I told you like when I was in college and I would play basketball and like go to my girlfriend's house and like not change my underwear and shit. So I'd have like the itchies, like like jock itch and stuff. And I did
Right.
research and like internet back then was really bad back when we were in college. There's like the loading took so long and there was only like WebMD. If even WebMD was around, there was like very few legit sources. And I thought I had like herpes or something. And there's like two types of herpes. There's herpes zoster and there's herpes something else. And the other one is the one that's like for lifetime and like you never get well from it and it's just triggered by stress and it's the one that you get, from sexual intercourse and stuff. And it's like to get blisters and shit. And you get that in your lips and you get that like in your organs and stuff. And I had that fear. Like I was in college for like the latter part of my college life, and I was like, "Where the shit? Shit, I have herpes. I have herpes." And you realize later on, it's just jock itch. It's just from you gotta change your underwear when you play basketball or when you see your girl or whatever. You gotta be more hygienic. But when you're younger, you're not like that because you're like, you don't have time to go home and wash up. Like now, after a meal, you brush your teeth every after a meal. But back in the day when you're young and you're in college, you don't think about shit like that. You're like, you know, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Like it doesn't matter if your underwear's sticky and shit. Like you actually like
Right.
it.
Right.
Like you dig in there and you sniff it. Like and now But I get what you mean. It's like especially with you. You've had a head trauma. You've had issues with the head. I mean, I've had too. When I was a kid, I also had experienced head trauma, but I don't even want to start reading up on that shit. Like, if it had any effect later on in your life, or does it catch up to you? Because, not to scare you or anything, but remember our good friend Yoyong. He had that incident where you know about that, right? When he was in the motorcycle and
Yeah, well,
he
yeah,
hit this
well,
wall.
that was really pretty bad.
That was
That
bad.
was,
That was
yeah,
bad. That
that
altered
was
his
bad. I
face.
mean, because accidents like those, you should be monitored, right? The one that I
Yeah.
had November 31st, it's like you just hit yourself in the cabinet. But then you know how these things on the internet are saying like, do not underestimate whatever, like whatever it is, it's related to your head. Do not underestimate it. Like for
Yes.
the most part, it might be nothing, but have it checked. So like I said, I went to the hospital last Friday. They scanned me like CT scan. CT scans okay. So it should be like all right. But the one with Yoyong, like it has to be like car related or vehicle related. dude, that's like that's like
Yeah, that was bad. That was like
I
he
think what
hit a
happened
wall.
was
Like his face
I
was
think
like.
what happened was he was in the motor like he was on the motorcycle, right? And when he what
He
he
was
like he
he's yeah. He was like
accidentally he
it
what like
was
accelerated,
yeah, it was at the entrance of the building at the radio station, and we were. I think we were even up.
right?
I'm not sure if I was upstairs, but anyways, yeah, his friend came along and had like his motorcycle, new motorcycle, and he sat there, and I think the motor was running, and I think he was messing around with it, and I think he didn't know that it was on first gear or something, and instead of instead of gripping on the brake or something, he did on the accelerator, and it just went straight, and it hit a wall, and it broke the glass of one of the establishments there, and they had to rush him and run towards San Pedro Hospital with like his face all bloodied and shit. And then I remember visiting him. I think that same day with the wifey because the wifey I think was still working at San Pedro Hospital at the time, and his face was swollen. Like how Alan Kay Dick's nose is. Like it's all like kind of
Right,
messed up.
right, right, right.
He kind of like had, you could recognize him because like half his face kind of swollen, and and we were thinking, okay, it was only because it was the first day and stuff, but when he was fully recovered and he went back to work, like he really looked different. He never went back to his normal face. He
Didn't he
always
go
looked like he
back for
had this
follow
like.
up checks? Because you're supposed to have like follow up checks.
I
Did
think he
they scan
did.
him?
I'm sure they did. I'm not sure, but like then he resigned from the station, and he was like he had other jobs like selling stuff and whatever, and then I would see him from time to time at SM because he would be like manning a booth for like concert tickets and stuff, and he was fine. He was it's all good, and then like a couple of years later, like you just hear that like his head bloated or something. I don't know what happened, and and then he just passed away. So I was like, what the heck? And the wife
Took
is kind of like
years?
years, dude, like years, like
Well,
I think he had
was
like
the death related to that like accident or is it
I don't
something
know,
else?
but I don't know, but it was like if I'm not mistaken, it was like a brain
Two
tumor or
years
some
is very
tumor type.
long.
It's like a tumor of some sort. Like I think I'm not quite sure what the cause of death exactly was, but I know it was a head related thing. Like he had a tumor and it grew and something like that. And I mean I'm not connecting it to that, but the wife is kind of like maybe it could be the wife would probably know more about that. I mean I did not get a specific I didn't get specific information about the cause of death. Really, it was related directly to that. But just because he had that accident, just because his face was disfigured, and just because
Hmm.
the cause of death was like head related too. I mean, you would assume that maybe it was something that was unattended or something that was like missed. I mean, like maybe they did some tests and then they didn't do a certain test, or because here in the
Well, if
Philippines,
it's
dude,
years, it
it's
would be
different.
is from my because I talked to my surgeon, and once we a neurosurgeon when I had my subdural hematoma like burhole surgery back in 2011. When I asked him about it, he was like, "No, don't worry about it. Like whatever it's done. Like that's over and done. Just
It's not gonna
it's
develop into something
you're
else.
yeah, you're back to your normal self. You're back to because I
Yeah,
would always get paranoid, and he would always say every time I go back to him, he would always like he wouldn't even try to listen to my reasons, and I think he understands. He would like, all right, okay, yeah, to make you feel better, we'll scan you because I think I'm having like migraines or whatever, and I would go to him, and I'm like, oh, it's been like days, and I'm worried, and I'm like, all right, okay, I'll scan you. Then it's like, all right, nothing, and like, okay. So then it's been like what 12 years now, and there was even like
yeah,
I think a few years ago when I was having like headaches as well, and my surgeon's not there anymore because he moved. He's a big shot now, so he's somewhere a bit far, on a higher position. He's like the the neurosurgery's medical director or something, like at one of the big hospitals somewhere in Aichi. Then I went back for like some checks. I was like, whatever, and I was expecting to be scanned, but one of the doctors, like a really old doctor, was like, "Oh, I'm having headaches for for a few days now," and blah blah blah. And he just like tried to lift my hands, and
yeah,
did some like just whatever, like just whack me with some hammer here, like those little
yeah,
hammers,
yeah.
just and like, all right, you're fine. I'll just give you some medication. And it was just like, that's
No, no,
it. Yeah,
I think
that's
you're fine because I have a friend who went through a car accident. He he got in a car accident way back, and he's like same as yours, you know, like they had to drill that hole, whatever. But he opted for a plate, so he has like a plate on his head, and that was like a long time ago, and he's totally fine. I think Yo-Young's was like a totally different thing altogether. Like, maybe his was like a, I don't know. We don't know if it's even related, but or if it had an effect that made it worse or whatever. We don't know. We're not medical experts. We're just like, assuming things here, but it will scare you, like, because you'll hear stories about other people and you will relate it to yours, and you'll be like, oh shit, especially Pinoys, and Pinoys are kind of different. We're the type of people who are like, we don't want to face the music. Like, for example, if you're having trouble in marriage, you don't want to talk about it. You like ignore it and pretend everything's fine. If you're having financial problems, you don't want to admit that you're poor and broke ass and you need help, financial whatever. Or if you're an alcoholic or you're a gambler, you don't want to admit that you are. Filipinos are like that. We like to just assume that no, we're fine, and we just like we try to act normal and not face the music. Whereas with other people, like in the U.S., there's an intervention. Like people are immediately seeking help because they know that it's effective. In the Philippines, we associate it with like expense. Oh, if I have to go see a psychologist, I'm gonna have to spend. And we're all in fear of that here because of the financial aspect of getting help professionally. So we'd rather just talk to a friend who will tell us what we need to hear, and we just assume that okay, we're fine. Oh, we're fine. My friend told me I'm fine, so I'm fine. But like in Japan, where you can go seek help, professional help, you have insurance and shit, then you're good, So you're fine. I mean, if your doctor says you're fine, I think you're fine. But in the Philippines, if your friend says you're fine, like who, like if you're not well, emotionally, physically, spiritually, or whatever here in the Philippines, it's like you always like you probably either keep it to yourself, or you have like that one friend who will probably not tell you to go get professional help, right? Your friend will just tell you like, let's go out and drink and stuff, and I think that's just how it is.
Right.
That's why there are cases where you find out that you have a neighbor, and you see these cases like in Wish Ko Lang, or these shows where they help people out, and there's like this person with like a lump that's like this big already. I'm like, why wait for that lump to be like this big? I'm pretty sure that lump started out this big. Like none of the neighbors even cared. None of the members of the family even told her to have that like little tumor removed, because that's just how Filipinos are. We just assume that she has a lump, right? I mean, like even when you were a kid, like when we were kids, we would have classmates with like something wrong with their eye or something, and nobody ever does anything about it because of the fear of the financial repercussions of having to go get, professional help. And I think that's kind of like, I'm not saying that's what happened to Yo-Yo, but I would totally understand why some people here don't get checked up right away, or some people wait till it's like too late, or you know we assume that that person just has a certain condition that maybe the old people in the family refer to as something else. I mean, they even have like, oh, barang, or ano lang yan, matagtiki, whatever. We have terms for things like that. But even like matagtiki is like a dangerous thing. Like you could actually probably die from that if you really research the scientific equivalent of what that is and what it could do to you. But people go through it.
Matagtiki is boil, right? Is it sort of boil?
Ow, dude, that thing can get worse. I think. I mean, it's like I don't really know what it is, but some people can die from that. I think. I don't even know what it really is. But Filipinos, I don't know if a Filipino who ever goes to the hospital for that. I mean, you just know your friend has
Yeah,
matagtiki.
it is actually a boil. It's like
So
boils.
is a boil a bad thing? Can you just like is home remedy?
Well, it's a skin infection that starts in a hair follicle or oil gland.
It's not a big deal.
Then the skin turns red in the area of the infection, and I don't know, like it could get infected, and when something gets infected, I think it's dangerous.
Yeah,
Every
people
time, like
get
we talk about, right? Even if you have
yeah.
like a really like small whatever wound, or I don't know, like flesh wound, right? If it's get infected, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, and if it's bad enough that you get a fever from it, right? Because I mean, that's what my mom would tell me. Usually, a fever is a sign of an infection. It
It
could be
is.
internal, it could be
It is.
external, but if you're having a fever, that means, your body's trying, your antibodies are trying to fight it off or something like that. So, but
Right.
how many Filipinos really go and get checked up
That's
at the
true.
first
I
sign of something?
remember way back 2000 and when was this? 2014. Was it
Dude,
2014 or
Rene
13?
Requestas died from TB, man. I mean, he had money, didn't he? I mean, he died from TB, tuberculosis. That's like a curable thing. Dude, did Rene Requestas have to die from that? I mean,
I've seen it a mile away. I mean, look at him. He was
I
he was just like so skinny, right?
I mean,
He was not
come to
normal.
think of it, come to think from the
I've seen
very
him from a
beginning,
mile.
of his career, he looked like he had TB already. So I mean, I think he just like waited it out. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's too late. Like maybe when he had the money, it was already incurable. I don't know. Maybe it turned into like cable already or satellite TV. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he probably had it from the very beginning. But I'm just saying, it's like, did anybody care about really stuff? I mean, did he have to die from that? Like, I
I mean, he
mean,
made a lot of movies. Like
he,
every time they make a movie, they should like, oh, we should have like a general checkup,
I
for all
know.
the people
Dude,
who
he
see the
kissed Chris
project and stuff.
Aquino on the lips for crying out loud. If he had TB then she could have gotten it. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like,
But yeah, but well, yeah. I mean, way back 2014, I was having some tummy issues, right? So it's like gastro issues, and I was so convinced that I have something because I really
bitok.
feel it.
Yeah, bitok.
Well, if that was the case, that would have been
Yeah, see,
that would have been okay.
even
But
bitok Filipinos laugh about it. Dude, that's kwashiorkor. That could lead to malnutrition. But anyways, go ahead.
so I feel something, and it's not just in my mind because I feel it, right? And it's been on for weeks. So I was like really worried. So I went to the same hospital, and this hospital they're very thorough. You feel something, they'd be like, "Oh, all right. So if you really want to know
They checked your
what's
butthole.
going
They
on,
checked your butthole. It's
dude,
like
no,
they're that thorough.
they put a camera like through my mouth, like down my
Yeah.
throat,
Yeah, they would be
right? So I have
checking
to
for parasites. Checking for parasites,
So
I think.
they shove this camera inside my mouth. I drank something like something really oily, so that it would be
Yeah, yeah.
slippery or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
didn't eat the night before. I think
That's
12 hours,
castor
so that
oil.
it would be like like there's nothing in it. So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
put that camera in my mouth, and they just like went down there and looked inside my, I don't know, my small or big intestine, and
Yeah.
then when it's finished, they were just like, "Oh yeah, well, there's nothing. It's fine. You're just stressed, maybe." They're like, it's like, "Oh, you're just stressed," like because we can't find anything. It's probably
Yeah.
and now I'm like, "Holy crap! Stress is real." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like these things, because they can't explain it. Like why? Then maybe, yeah, probably. And I'm like, that could be it too. Like you feel these things, and I had that again, like just I think last year I was having that same thing, and I was like, oh, this was the same thing that I felt, and I was like,
Yeah.
it should be just like the same thing as 2014. I think it's true, and hopefully that's the case with like with my head,
Yeah.
because I've been looking at the situation. My mom and my sister, they were here, and I was like physically fatigued, and I was so down. I was really excited before they came, and I was anxious before they came, and
Yeah.
before leaving, I was anxious as well. After they left, I was still anxious, and like I
Yeah.
couldn't sleep before they left because like I'm gonna miss them. And after they left, a few days after that, I still couldn't sleep. It took about like a few days before I could go back to my normal sleep.
You need a
So it
bottle of
told me that.
whiskey.
So it's like all those things that happened in 40 days. It came
Yeah.
out just like, I don't know, this past 3 weeks. So I hopefully that's the case,
I think
and
that's
I think
yeah.
that's mostly the case.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think because you don't have enough distraction in your life there. I mean, you're busy, yes, but you don't have enough distraction like other people in the house, and it gives you a lot of time to think. And that's why people in the US or Filipinos who go to the Middle East, OFWs, they're always stressed out emotionally because they always have that. It's like if you ever gone camping, and all of a sudden you're like in a place where at this time lights off and you have to be in bed regardless of whether you still want to stay up late or you're stuck with people that you don't necessarily interact with regularly. So you're like, okay, so now it's like a different world. Like I experience that a lot when I travel. Like for example, and I visited my sisters. I'm used to being here in control of the house, being with my kids. If I wanted to see my friends, I can go out and get drunk with Mao and Joe and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I'd be staying in the US for like a month, and it's a new environment. And like my sister and my brother in law, they have a routine, and I can't change that. Like I can't tell my brother in law, hey, let's talk, let's hang out, let's watch TV, let's get drunk, whatever. And my sister too. And once they're in their rooms already, I'm like, holy shit, what are we gonna do? And for people who've lived overseas like you, we all know that there's a certain silence. There's a sound of silence that comes with it. Like the sound of silence where it's like, like you think it's so quiet that you just like hear.
I
You
hear
even
that
you're
actually.
right. There's a. It's that quiet. It's not like here where there's like a jeepney. You'll hear dogs barking. You'll hear like a lady screaming, guy singing video. In abroad, it's that quiet. And as much as I'm American in terms of I've lived in the U.S. for so many years as I am Filipino. It took a while for me to adjust to that because I've become so accustomed to living here and
Actually, I
Asia,
miss the
right?
States. I really do.
Right? Yes, exactly. So I was like, holy shit. So you lie down and you start thinking shit, and that's why you once you feel that like you miss your family, your mom and your sisters going back home because you're anticipating already the silence that will come with it. Like once they leave, it's gonna be like, shit, dude, welcome to my life. I mean, having have to move around and travel and shit. Like the first few days or so, that's why people drink. That's why there's such a thing as a nightcap. You notice that with like people who live alone in the U.S. They have this term called a nightcap, and you notice like when you watch American movies, they always have like this mini bar where they always have like a half bottle of like a whiskey or something, where they'll take a shot. Like if they have a friend over, like you want a nightcap, like because dude, if you live alone and you don't want to go to bed with like all these thoughts of paranoia entering your head, dude, a shot or two of whiskey helps. And like I'm not an alcoholic, but I do know that it lightens me up a bit. It relieves me of my fearful thoughts of my family, of my getting old and shit and all that, And it's not about getting drunk. It's just about like drinking it so that it numbs you a little bit. It's like if you have a fear of flying, have a shot or two of whiskey, and you're probably thinking, I couldn't care less if this plane crashes. Like you get to that point because the anxiety will kill you. I don't know if it was you or Pinky or whoever said it that they had to be rushed to the hospital one time because they had like heart palpitations because they were what's that? I don't know what that term is, but like it's not a nervous breakdown, but it's like
Tachycardia?
you are so overcome by like these like intrusive thoughts, if that's what you want to refer to it as. Or I don't know what the proper term is for those things. I don't know if they're intrusive thoughts, but just thoughts of fear and stuff that could happen, and it just piles and piles, and it's like it's not helping. And I look at my wife and she's snoring, so I don't really want to wake her up and tell her, babe, hug me, reassure me. I mean, I'm not that type of person. I keep my problems to myself. I kind of want people to think everything's fine. I'm that kind of person. I don't want to share my misery, and I don't think that's a good thing. But so and I think my wife would know that. Like I'll have a shot of whiskey or two. I always have a bottle of whiskey in the house, and I'll have a shot of whiskey or two just to like numb me out. And maybe the wifey kind of notices that okay, maybe he's having a hard time sleeping. Maybe it's just we all have our way of dealing with it, and I don't know how you deal with it, but I hope you found a way to deal with it because it's not healthy. At our age, it's not healthy, man. I mean, especially you're younger than I am. And people will even say stress is like one of the silent killers in this day and age. Stress is actually like a killer itself. It's not necessarily an illness that you have or a physical condition that you have or a weakness that you have. It's like stress itself can be a killer. And I think at our age, that's so freaking true. And I don't know if kids are going through stress now. Like, Raj, are you stressed? No? Okay, good. Because sometimes I stress my kid out. Like I take away his phone and I see him, he's so stressed. I don't know if that's the same stress that we go through as adults. But stress is a killer, man. So don't find a way. I don't know. But for me, my solution is if it's something overwhelming, I don't call a friend. I don't. I certainly don't go online because that I know it's just gonna worsen things. If I go, I used to read Archie's Double Digest. Like that would be like my therapy. When I used to live alone, when my Lola died, and there was a period in my life where I was alone in that big old compound in
Right.
Bakaka, and I would lie down, and I was like, and it wasn't like I was scared that my Lola would like show up and shit, and she'd like scare me. No, it wasn't that. It was more of like, fuck, I'm alone. Like
Right.
nobody wants me.
But
Like
at least you have those go to DVDs at that point.
yeah, but yeah, I know, but that's that you know if it's sexual tension though. You know if it's sexual tension, and you know if it's like this cannot be solved by jerking off. You know if it's sexual tension because sexual tension is like you feel uptight. Sexual tension is like you feel uptight. Like you want to be relieved of that. But this is like it's that you know what I'm saying? It's like you're lying down and you start thinking, shit, nobody wants me. Like my dad's fine with his family, my mom's fine on her own, my sisters are all happy with her, and like I'm lying down. I don't remember this is before Raj and Rai and my wife. So I had this feeling of being unwanted. Like I had this feeling of like, shit, why am I alone? Like nobody's ever inviting me to join them to live with them or anything. And my friends are thinking, dude, you're so lucky. You have the house to yourself. You're like living a little bit. I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking, shit, like, how come, like, I have friends and they're crowded in their houses and I'm like, shit, alone in this big ass house and, it's empty. And I felt empty inside. So I was like, oh shit, like, I'll have friends over, we'll drink, but then when it's Hippo's time, it's just me. And I'm like, I have to go up there and I'm like, I felt so alone, and it's just like I learned to be that way. That's why you notice that I have that loner side. You notice that I have that side where I'm not comfortable with a lot of people because I went through a stage in my life where I had to adjust and adapt to being freaking alone. And you start dealing with stress on your own that even when there are people there, you don't feel the advantages and the benefits of it like you do. Like you, when your family's there, you maximize the benefits of it. You talk to them, you embrace them, you have fun with them, you laugh with them. For me, it's like I don't know how to maximize the benefits of having people around. And sometimes I feel that like my wifey would invite her friends. Like my wifey has gatherings in the house. She'd invite her friends and they're
Right.
cool people, right? Some of them. So they'd be here, they'd be gathering at the cabana drinking, and I'd be inside the house playing a video game. And then I would go out and like just say I'll join them for a bit. So I'd sit there and I'd start laughing. I'd be like, oh, this is actually fun. Like, oh, this is, maybe I should just not shut my door on embracing,
True.
you know?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I just close my door on it and like, that's not fun. I'm just sitting there. Then I go out there and I
That's
join
that's what
them,
I
right?
always tell people here in Japan. I always tell them I miss that because Japan doesn't have that. Like I told you, it's like
No.
in the States.
But they might love
People
it, right? But they might
yeah,
love it
I
if they embrace it.
well, one person I'm talking to would say like, "Oh, I see the good points of what you're saying."
There you go.
I mean, speaking in terms of, I mean, looking at things in her perspective as Japanese, she realized that, oh, that's why Filipinos are so calm. That's why they're so, you know what I'm saying? Because you always have somebody to be around with, and it's not even like, because here I think they have a different culture, and I don't know, maybe they have a different lifestyle or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's not them, but Filipinos are Filipinos, and that sort of things, the things that we do there,
Yeah.
I think it's exclusively for people who's got the same situation as the Philippines. Like for example, let's go to like South America or something.
Yeah, they're
That's
they're
not
they're the same way. They're the same way,
yeah,
right?
they're the same way, right? So
Yeah, yeah. Mexicans,
so
yeah.
I always tell them that you have people coming over and you'd be talking about stuff, and usually you consider yourself lucky because when you're talking about something and you're saying something really bad about yourself, or you're feeling bad about your situation, then your friend would come up with something much worse. They would
And you feel
like
better.
say like yeah, and you're like, all right, okay, maybe I'm luckier than this person because
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
right,
So you
okay,
won't kill yourself.
yeah, so, all right, okay, I feel better now. I mean, so like yeah, we talked about this, and she was saying like, wow, we can't even talk about our problems with with people, because to them it's like really private, like your problem is your own. And I
Yeah.
think they have like posters now on like on in schools, and I couldn't really like understand it because it was all in Japanese characters. And when I translated it, they're saying like, oh, you don't have to face it by yourself, you don't have to be alone facing whatever you're facing. But then
For
in
mental
their
health, for
culture,
mental health,
yes,
right?
yes, but in their culture it's so hard because they have to seek somebody who's professional, where with us, if we just hang out with our friends, it's kind of like that's already a big leap, that's a big help. And I mean, if it's really something serious, then you should go and see someone who's a professional. But if it's just like you broke up with somebody or whatever, if you're with your friends, little by little you'll feel better because they're always there for you. And like you always, they kind of like try to cheer you up in so many ways.
I gotcha, man. I mean, that it's just it's a tough puzzle to crack for different people because we all go through our different demons in life, and some people don't even go through it. Some people go through it at a younger age. Some people go through it at an older age. Some people are so set in a certain situation in their lives that if it changes, they don't know how to deal with it. Like for example, maybe you grew up in a perfect family and then your parents separate. Like you wouldn't know how to deal with it. And you have no choice. You have to deal with it. Like let's say you're an OFW and you want to provide for your family. So you want to be an OFW. You have to be an OFW, but you've never been away from your family. So now you travel and you're there and you're like, shit, how am I going to deal with this? And it's overwhelming, it's overwhelming. That's what I keep telling my son, Raj. It's like when he freaks out and he starts crying over petty things, I tell him, anak, save your tears for the real problems. They will come into your life. Trust me. I mean, I don't want you to have any of it, but you will. Save it. Stress over the stuff that you're supposed to stress over. When these are the stuff that you have no control over. Like for example, your parents separating, or God forbid, you find out you have an illness that's incurable, or God forbid, there's like the earthquake that took place in Turkey. I mean, prayers up for them. I mean, those people were probably crying over the loss of a football team in the World Cup or something. But those tears could have been saved for now, because now they really have no choice. You really have to be, suffering, and you really have to be, I guess, torn apart by the situation that they're in. It's beyond your control. It's not within your
I know.
control, right?
Like
But there,
a lot of like things that you go through in life will like will toughen you up, right?
yeah, yeah. But it doesn't make
it,
it any easier, right?
it doesn't make it any easier, but it makes you stronger
It makes you
in terms
stronger.
of like
You're
I
less
mean,
panicky, right? You're less
yeah,
panicky about it
I
because
mean, in
you've seen
terms
it
of like
before.
thinking about how to survive, you'd be like, I was fine, like I've been through hell and back.
Yes.
I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, because you know what to expect. Like it's like martial arts. Like if you take up martial arts and you're really good at the palgue or the kata or whatever you want to call it. The forms and shit, and you're like, you have all the techniques mastered and everything, but you've never sparred in your life. You've never had physical one-on-one combat where you hit somebody and they hit you back, and they hit you as hard as they can hit you. And you're only expecting, because in martial arts, most people are thinking about hitting people. They're not really anticipating the hit themselves. And that's when you test a true warrior, is when he can take the hit. And I seen people break down and cry. Like when I was in Taekwondo way back,
Like what Mike
they
Tyson
get-
says all the
they
time.
cry.
Every Everybody has a
Yes.
plan until you get
Exact.
punched in the face.
Exactly. You're all good. You're all good until you get hit. You're all good. And I've seen like these guys, like this kid was like a brown belter and shit. And I don't know if he sparred. Maybe he sparred, but he's never really had like full contact, full on sparring. And he gets hit and he starts crying. And I'm like, what the hell? Because this person has never had physical, you know, one-on-one like combat contact in his life. So he just has this imaginary thing where he thinks, oh, I know how to do it. This is how it's gonna turn out. I'm gonna throw this kick. This guy's gonna kick me. I'm gonna break his leg. But it doesn't turn out that way because you cannot control how a person will approach fighting. You know, he might throw a right instead of a left. And once you get hit and you're not ready for that hit,
You might grab a rock, throw it to your face, and that's the
exactly.
end of you.
He might piss on your face for all you know, you know? You don't know. He might like hit you with a butt move. You don't know. So you start crying. And that's kind of like how life is. It's like it's not always going to turn out how you plan or expect it to be. Oh, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to win all these cases and I'm going to be a hotshot. No, yeah, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to build a building. No, some people they get to that stage and all of a sudden they can't face the music. Just like what I'm saying, it's like ang tatapang, ang daming kong matatapang nakilala. They'll be like, ano lang yun ba? Magsiman ako ba? Or mag-walk ako abroad ba? But you know what? You don't even know yet. Magsisiman ka and then you go and you're off to that first work contract of yours and you're in a ship and you're like you encounter your first scary like wave or something and you're crying like shit and you're like holy crap, you don't know. So you know if you, there's a reason why we fear the unknown because we don't know how we will respond to it. That's why I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you that you went to Japan and you stuck through it. And I know you feared it at first and you were crying and you didn't want to do that shit. And how many years later you're still there grinding it out and you brought it home and you made
Dude,
something out of that. You didn't waste your time there.
it's been 15 years.
It's been 15 years. So that means you've already overcome that initial, wave of difficulty of having to adjust. And that's really you were really taken out of your element when you live there. And that's why I tell my wife, because my wife would be like, sometimes we would have arguments about like certain jobs or whatever. She would tell me, hey, why don't you apply to this? Why don't you do this? I'm like, babe, I can do that. I mean, I don't doubt I could possibly do that. I mean, it's not something like going to space or whatever. But if I'm going to be miserable for every day of my life doing something just to prove a point, I think life's too short for it. You know what I'm saying? I think
Yeah.
I'm too, and right? Life's too short for it. And I'm gonna share like a brilliant okay, it's from Jim Carrey, and I don't know if you've
Okay.
read this, right? But
Can
yeah,
we
go
like
ahead.
finish at 50? Right?
Yeah, yes,
Let's because I'm planning to like just like have it like early night
yes,
just
yes, of
until
course,
my MRI is back. All right.
of
Okay. Let's
course.
finish up with this one. All right. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
do you have one too? Okay,
No, no.
anyways,
I'll pick up on that. Yeah, all right. Okay.
yeah, anyways, I'm trying to find the actual quote, but I'm just gonna read it anyways because I don't. I'm just gonna do it from memory. Basically, he said, "Here's what he said in the quote." He said his dad, growing up, he said his dad worked very hard as an accountant to provide for them, and he was always stressed out about the work, but he worked every day. He did the work every day for years. For how many years of his life, he was an accountant for this particular firm, you know, and it was work for him. He felt like his dad was stressed out, but his dad did it. Is there? You found it? Read that. Read it.
Yeah.
Read it. Read that.
Um, I think it's something about so many of us chose our path out of fear, disguised as practicality. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. So he made a conservative choice and instead he
That's the
got
one.
a job as an accountant.
That's the one. Go ahead. Yes, that's the one. Go ahead. Read
And
it.
when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. Our family had to do whatever we could do to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which is that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
Yes. If you're gonna fail at anything, you might as well fail at doing something you love rather than doing something you hate. Then fail at it. I mean, his dad,
That is really true.
right? His
That is
dad,
so profound.
he
Yes, I agree
right.
with that.
His
100%.
his dad chose the safe path. He's like, I'm an accountant. I'm secure. This is safe. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it, but I'm providing for my family, whatever. And then
The
he
same
gets let go. He loses the
and
job.
right, he got let go and, like yeah. I mean, that's depressing. You're doing something that you don't really like and you got let go of it.
He got let go. I mean, it's
It's
like a
like
double failure,
It's like, all
right?
right, it's like settling for instead of settling for the person who you really love, you settle for
And then
someone
the
like
chip divorces you.
and divorces you. And that's even
The ugly
nothing.
chick divorces you. You know,
Exactly,
like
because you
crap.
don't even like her in the
You,
first
you you'd
place.
be like, okay, I'll marry this chick because she will never leave
Leave
me
me,
because she's
exactly.
ugly as
She would
hell
never
and
cheat
nobody
on me and whatever, right?
and she
Exactly,
divorces
can
you.
happen. Yeah, it can
Like you didn't
happen.
take a chance at the pretty chick because you were so afraid that she might, reject you. So you went for the safe path of what and life's too short, man. Life's too friggin' short. And we're just lucky that we did radio, which is something that we loved,
Right.
you know, and we were just lucky that we had a fallback and that we had certain things in our lives that kind of rescued us financially from an otherwise difficult situation if we had just relied on that career for everything else. So we were just lucky, but to have done that for how many years and have good memories about how many people do you know who are retired from their work talk about their work as fondly as we do? Tell
Nobody.
me, how many, and think about wonderful memories of the days when they were working like we
And
do. We have wonderful
we
memories
have
of our
so much.
job,
Yeah, so much.
right? I
So much
mean,
wonderful memories.
so many
I mean,
wonderful memories.
even my father realized that because when I was I worked for Astra, right? AstraZeneca. Then I
Yeah, yeah,
quit.
yeah.
I came back
The
to
pharma.
Davao. Then I worked for like Korean school, Korean English school. Then I landed a job at Killer Bee, and it's something that I really love. And I did the pharma again part time. My friend owns it, and it's like it's a local pharma, but I helped them out, and I was doing it at the same time having fun doing my our actual job or actual profession
Yeah,
as radio DJs. Then
yeah,
I was doing good with the pharma thing. One of the guys approached me and asked me like, "Do you want to take my place? I'm being promoted, and we're looking somebody to fill in for my position." And I can see that you're somebody that I can see who can fill in my position. And this is a
yeah,
really easy position. You have like five your cover would be just like five doctors because you're a specialist. Five doctors, but your area is wider, and you might have to quit your radio job. That's just the
yeah,
downside of it. You might have to quit
yeah,
your radio job, but it pays well. You get car benefits and whatever.
yeah,
And think about it. So I consulted my dad, and I told my dad about it, and I said it's a nice company. It's not the biggest, but it's a solid company.
yeah,
Um, Good salary, car benefits, and it's like only five doctors a day, but wider area. So I might not be around all the time here in Davao. So that means I have to quit my radio job. And my
yeah,
dad like sat down with me and started like computing whatever, like how much do you earn from your local pharma now, like this much. How about Killer Bee, this much, and your gigs this much. And he was like, how much is the salary over there? It's like this much, and you have the car. But then he was saying, we already have a car. It's not a nice car, but it runs. It's a vehicle. You can use it. The
yeah,
Iceman. So it was like, and he was like, well, my opinion, he said, if I were you, I would stay with your current situation because I know that like you might not like that job and you would feel miserable and you would still quit it anyway. But here, you're having best of both worlds. It's not a big company, but you're
you're still
quite known
earning.
in the city, and you're enjoying your actual job, and then you can use it in your like other day job, which is the like the pharma thing. The doctors know you, the doctors' kids listen to you, like
Yeah,
you're pretty popular around the city.
it
So
helps you. Yeah, it helps your
so
marketability.
he was
Yeah,
like, no, just scrap it, just stick with like with what you have right now. And that's
there
what
you
I did,
go.
and I never regretted it, and I was
There
very
you go.
happy about it.
There you
Then
go.
up until I have to leave and come here. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
Well,
been 15 years. Like,
yeah. The moral of the story there is, I think it doesn't apply to everyone, but if you're miserable at what you do and you have to constantly justify what you're doing with the financial rewards that you get out of it, then you just have to figure out if what's worth more to you. Your mental health, your well being, your satisfaction and
right.
contentment in life, or the financial situation. Because I mean, like for people who like go overseas, like the OFWs who have to live in the Middle East away from their children and not see their children grow for like 3 years or something, you know, probably you'd have to be like kapit patalim to be able to do that because you don't want to miss out the precious years of your children growing
That's
up and
true.
all that,
That's true.
right? Because I mean, and plus you come back, your children barely know you. You are the shell of a man you'd be if you were here with your family. You will age 50 million times. You will have your heart will harden because you will deal with people who are unsympathetic to who you are and what you're about. And it's sometimes, and for what? For a tricycle? For what? For an extension of
For
your
the camp.
house? For what? So you can send your kid to a private school? I mean, which in turn does not really guarantee that everything will be, because you're gonna have to work like that for the rest of your life to maintain it anyways, to sustain that situation. Are you up for that? I mean, and I think that those are things that people have to consider, and and things will work itself out. At the end of the day, if you're happy, if you're healthy, mind wise, and if it's meant for you, it's meant for you. Sometimes don't
Right.
force yourself in a little hole
True.
where you have
True.
to crack the whole wall just to get through that wall, right?
Exactly.
Right? You don't
Exactly.
have to. Go to the other side. Find another way out of it. And that's
Mhm.
just how it is. But anyways, yeah, my friend's got to rest. I have the cough, so we're both aging like crazy.
Right.
So
We're gonna
next
leave
time,
you. We're gonna leave you with
a
Jim
quote.
Carrey's quote. Yes,
Okay, go
we're
ahead.
gonna leave you with Jim Carrey's quote. This is what he said. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which is that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. Yeah.
Take it from
That's
the
from
radio,
Jim Carrey.
guys.
Yeah.
Take it from the radio,
Yeah.
guys.
And we'll see you on when? Thursday?
Yes, Thursday sounds
Not
good.
not in weeks, right?
No, 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 for sure we're back. Because I
All
missed
right.
this, man. I missed
All
this,
right.
dude. Come on.
I know,
What are you
like,
talking-
well,
I need
Babs'
this.
brother went back to Canada already.
No, they're
They
still
still have.
here. They're
They're
still,
still
but
here.
they're in Digos. They're in Digos.
All
But
right.
I
Okay.
think I think he'll be here
All right.
Friday,
Well, if he's
so
not
Thursday's
busy,
good.
it's fine. Thursday's fine,
Yeah,
right? All right. So we'll
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday's
All
fine.
right. So all right. So thanks a lot for joining us, even for a short bit. I still have to stress on my
I
camera
know until
results.
Friday. No, you're good. Don't worry about it.
So
Whiskey shots.
yeah, I'll, I'll find something downstairs. Maybe a
Yeah,
freaking insecticide or something.
insecticide. Make it worse.
I know. But surely we'll see you on Thursday, and we'll talk more about life and stuff. Thanks a lot, Rod Rodriguez and Iceman, and we are out. Thank you. Good night.